I left the United States in September 2020. Today, March 2022, was the first time I was stepping on US soil since then. Honestly, I was scared, anxious. Many folks have asked, why? Why are you going back with me? I've answered vaguely that it felt like it was time. And it was. Going back to the US meant seeing loved ones again, getting vaccinated, getting some new clothes, and having some soul food for the first time. But honestly, it meant facing problems, traumas that I hadn't had to face in over a year and a half. I plan on talking about this more, but I also faced a financial roadblock as well. And I needed to get clear on how to get over it. While folks may not get this, most of my journey is very spiritual, and I lean on my intuition for a lot of it. It felt like it was time. It felt like it was when I needed to go back to the US. So here it is. Some of my many thoughts, feelings, and experiences navigating reverse culture shock after leaving for over a year and a half. This was my experience coming back to the United States of America for the first time in a year and a half. My journey started pretty early. I left to head to the Mexico City International Airport at about 4 a.m. I was really tired, didn't really get much sleep, but my first flight was from Mexico City to Guadalajara. From Guadalajara, I flew right into Reno, Nevada. So basically about 8 hours of flight, but I called my Uber, and this is me in the Uber now on the way to the airport. Before we get into the video, I just wanted to give a disclaimer. The thoughts, perspectives, experiences, everything that I share in this video are based on my own lived experience. With that being said, I know for many folks, going back to the US could be very different. Regardless, if you do comment or have a differing opinion or perspective, please be respectful. Hey beautiful people, it's me. I'm currently in the Guadalajara, Mexico airport. It's about 7 a.m. or so, and my next flight will be straight to Reno, Nevada. So yeah, this is wild. My first time being in the United States in over a year and a half. It's coming in a few hours, which is wild to me. One thing I've realized is I haven't really been in like white spaces, like around white people much this whole journey, except for when I traveled. And I always notice that because when I get to the airport, I'm like, why are all these white men here? Because if I'm not with locals, like people from the country I'm in, or I'm with other black people, I'm with other black expats, and that's a very great difference. I feel like throughout this week I've been kind of grieving and a little bit of like sad, but for the most part I'm feeling okay. Mostly right now I'm just tired and hungry, but I refuse to pay for airport food, so I don't know. Maybe go find a place I can plug in my computer and get some work done. I'll see y'all on the other side. No, that sounds like I'm dying. I'll see y'all in the US. This is me about to board my flight, but I did want to share about my suitcase. So I did go down to just one suitcase and a side carry-on. Basically, I got rid of a lot of stuff that if it wasn't a souvenir, some clothing I really loved, and or something I really cherished from my trip abroad, I got rid of it because I knew I had a storage full of stuff waiting for me in Reno. But nonetheless, I was down to one suitcase. So this is me once we had landed in Nevada, and honestly I'm feeling nervous, I'm feeling anxious. In my head I'm thinking 10,000 things about what is this about to look like. The way my life had looked the last year and a half I know was going to be very different than what I'm going to see coming back to the States. Will people be different? Will people accept me? Will I be able to navigate the difference of food and culture and just the pace of life? So many things were going through my head, and also just wondering, do I have capacity to deal with all of this? Obviously I knew I did, but it felt like a lot, and it felt overwhelming to think about everything I was probably going to be approaching. actually might think this is weird. But so one of the first things I did when I got here is I had to go to the bathroom. And it was so weird because my first instinct after I wiped myself was to fill the toilet paper in the trash can, and I realized there's no trash can in here. I put it in the toilet, so yeah, I don't know. Welcome to America. Hey y'all, I got new glasses before I left Mexico. Y'all like them? So I'm at a friend's house. I'm staying at my friend's house for the week. So I landed in Reno, Nevada. I've been here for a few hours. And it's been interesting. When I first got off the plane, I felt like I landed in another foreign country. Like, I didn't feel like, oh, I'm home. I felt like, where the heck am I? Like, and I did have experience, like, so when I got to immigration, I went up to the thing there, like, next. There was this white lady. And she's like, hi. She was like, oh, like, why were you in Mexico? I said, for tourism, because that's just what I said, because that's the type of visa I had. She's like, oh, okay. How long were you there? It's like 6 months. And she's like, oh, okay. Did you bring anything back with you from there? I'm like, no. She's like, any food or anything like that? I'm like, no. And then, like, she paused. And she's like looking at my passport. And she was like, did you bring what about any drugs or anything like that? I was like, no. She's like, do you have anything that, like, are you carrying anything that someone asked you to bring here or anything like that? And I'm just like, no, I've never been asked that. And then she goes on to say, she's like, oh, it looks like you travel a lot. Like, she's looking through my passport stamp. So I'm just like, yup, sure do. Like, and she's like, she's still looking. And I'm like, yeah, it's part of my job. And she's like, oh, what do you, like, she's like, oh, really? I was like, yeah, I'm a YouTuber. She's like, oh, I love YouTube. Like, then she slowed down. She's like, I love YouTube. I'm like, yeah. She's like, I'm gonna have to check out your channel sometime. And I'm just like, I didn't even tell you what my channel is. And she's like, oh, okay, well, welcome back. And I'm like, you made me want to just get back on that plane I just got off. But it was just so weird because I'm just like, first of all, the audacity, like, why are you asking me if I'm bringing drugs? And first of all, who in their right mind that's smuggling drugs into the United States is going to be like, oh yeah, I got some coke? Like, why would I tell you that? Why? Like, what makes you think that conversation I would just be like, yeah, I have a lot of drugs in my bag, and I went through all the security to get here and everything. I just, I got a couple keys. Like, what? And I'm just like, what is wrong with you? So that was definitely interesting. I think one thing, so I'm very thankful for my friends that I have out here, because I feel like because I've been around them, it's felt very good, like, kind of coming back. But it's so weird, like, how different things feel and look for me. So, like, one thing I noticed, so my friends were amazing people and treated me to Korean barbecue. So that was my first meal in the States, which was good. But I feel like my salt, I didn't eat as much salt as, like, there's in the food here. Like, immediately after, like, while we were eating, I was like, I'm getting a headache. And I made it a pinpoint, like, I get that headache usually when I have a lot of sodium. So that was something. I don't know if it's just a Korean barbecue or what. It's just so weird. Like, I know I'm gonna navigate some culture shock. Like, even, like, I don't know, so many things just feel different. Like, and it's also weird because Reno's where I was for 5 years when I went to university. So, like, seeing things and how things have changed. I feel happy right now because I feel like I'm with community. I feel loved, and they've been amazing with making me feel very much at home and feeling. Just want to check in. So far so good. Definitely feels very different. It feels a bit weird. It's cold out here. Also, like, going places and hearing English everywhere, weird. Like, going to, like, restaurants and, like, hearing American music, weird. Yeah, so many things, but I just wanted to let y'all know and update y'all. I'm about to relax. If anything else comes up, I'll do a little vlog or whatever, but I'm feeling pretty good, just tired, and yeah, but I will talk to y'all later. When I first moved abroad, I planned on for a year, so I put all my belongings in storage in Reno, where I went to school. This is what it looks like. And honestly, when I came back, I was kind of shocked at all the stuff that I thought I would still need a year later. Oh my God, that is it.
Because I don't know if you remember, I told you I put your mail in there.
Yeah.
So that was like a year ago.
Open immediately.
Wow. So anyway.
Why did I keep this? Oh my God. Eventually going through the storage was a mix of emotions. I felt some nostalgia of seeing some of the items I hadn't seen over a year, from memories, photos, blankets, comfort items, even my air fryer. But also thinking, why did I keep all this stuff? And thinking that at that time, I thought I would need a lot of these things. And not to say I regret it, but I did wind up getting rid of over half of the things in the storage. Mostly some of the clothes didn't feel affirming anymore, but also some things just didn't align with who I was anymore. And it was time to get rid of them. Yeah, and plus the way I distribute stuff in here, like you look at it, you just think it's like everything expensive is kind of either hidden or in the back. So if you go take some shit, you gotta work for it. My advice looking at it now for anyone thinking about getting storage for long-term travel is really be honest about what you think you will need a year from now, 2 years from now, whatever the case may be. But also give yourself space to know that you may not be able to even conceive how you will be, who you will change, and how you will grow in that time. That was my first time being on my university campus in like almost 2 years now, and it's freaking weird. It looks exactly the same. I don't know, I'm out here in the States, and I'm here at Walmart, and it is the weirdest, most thing. So yeah, so y'all know I just got back from Latin America. In Latin America, it very much is custom for, in any enclosed spaces, even out in public, in the streets, that people wear their masks. So I'm now out here, I'm back in the States, and it is so weird to me that I'm in Walmart and people just are not wearing masks. Like it's just like post-pandemic. Like people are walking around like there's not a whole pandemic happening, and it's really bothering me because it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me why folks are walking around just like nothing's happening without masks on. Like it literally looks like we're living in post-pandemic times, and I don't know, it really makes me uncomfortable. It really doesn't make any sense to me, honestly. Like at all. So I went to brunch with some friends, and when we walked into this restaurant, I realized there was literally only white people in it. Not only did it make me feel uncomfortable, but I just could feel lots of stares on me, and it just felt really overwhelming because, like I said, I had not been in this type of space in a long time. Hey y'all, so I'm kind of struggling right now. I'm at a restaurant right now with some friends. I'm in Reno, Nevada, and I'm just feeling really overwhelmed. I'm feeling like I'm tired of being surrounded by whiteness. I'm tired of seeing the ways I react and act in whiteness. And I'm tired of feeling like I have to make myself smaller to exist within it. I don't know, like it's just like this just automatic feeling that comes up when I'm in, like when I walk in a restaurant, I see nothing but white people. Like I'm just like, it's like I feel like nothing, but also I feel like the main like attraction, or like I feel like all the focus on me at the same time. And I don't know, I'm just feeling very don't know, I'm just feeling overwhelmed, and I'm just over it. I'm just kind of over it. I feel like the thing also is like I don't get a lot of their culture, and I feel like I'm almost trying to immerse myself into culture. Like even in Latin culture, I feel like even if I was learning a new culture, learning something new, it very much connected in some way. Like I felt like, oh, this makes sense, or I could attribute something in my culture that like was the same. Not the same, but it's like, I don't know, like we have this for this. It's like, oh, well, you know, black people, we do this because we have this or whatever. It's just like not a thing. But white people, it's just like, to me, it's just like, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense to me. Like the music, the pop culture references, like I just don't get them. And so I just feel isolated. I don't know, it just feels like a lot. I'm gonna go back inside. Hey beautiful people, so it's now been about a month since I've been back in the States, and number one, time flies, but number two, I just wanted to give some reflections and kind of just, I guess just like kind of like wrap this up and like, I guess give like lessons I've learned and whatever the case may be. So first and foremost, I want to say, and I want to thank my mentor Shar for giving me the language and kind of naming this for me in a way. But it hasn't been easy being back in the States. I can't say that I've enjoyed a lot of pieces of it. Like I always say, I've thoroughly enjoyed seeing my friends and family and spending time with people that I love and things like that. But for the most part, I think really being back in the United States has solidified to me that I made the right choice. I think being here again has really validated that I wasn't supposed to be here from the beginning. I think that there's a lot of shame and guilt that comes with that because I have family that really don't think I should live outside the States. They want me to stay here and go to law school and whatever the case may be. But I feel like one thing I've learned is what I know is best for me can't be traded for what someone else thinks or what someone says that they believe is best for me. I have to live for me. At the end of the day, I have to wake up and look myself in the face every day. And at the end of the day, I have to experience the environment that I'm in. And being back in the States, I just feel like it doesn't feel aligning anymore. I feel myself a lot more tense. I don't feel like myself. Like I feel very stifled being in white spaces again. I feel like I'm looking over my shoulders a lot more than I used to be. Like I'm a lot more like overly cognizant of like looking over my shoulders and like figuring out like what's around me and all this stuff. And I don't really like that. Being in majority white spaces is also difficult. Just the way that I feel like sometimes white people look at me, I don't like it. Like I don't like the feeling, I don't like how I feel when I'm in white spaces. And people may say that's rude or whatever the case may be, but it's the truth. I spent the last almost 2 years in non-white space and in spaces where, let me put this into context. Over the last like almost 2 years, if I was in a space, I was either with other black expats or I was with locals. And yes, there are white like local people from different countries, but I usually didn't find myself in those spaces. Like I was in countries I wanted to get to know people, or that was Afro people from that place, or just people that were just from there. But I think at its core, I'm just not used to the way white people stare at you when you walk in, and the way that I just feel like there's just like undertone or overtone or whatever you want to call it of just like, I don't want you here. And I don't think that's a reason for me to leave, but that's a reason for me to honor wherever I best feel like I belong or I feel like I'm wanted. And that's also a whole nother conversation about privilege and things like that and going to other countries. But with all that being said, I think coming back to the States is kind of like for me, a realization of a solidifying of I made the right decision. And I'm really thankful for that. I'm really thankful to be validated in that I'm on the right path. I made the right choice. And despite what other folks may think about my choices or my life or where I choose to live, at the end of my life, I'm the only one that's going to have to be questioned for my choices and for what I did. And the choice I made to try something new and see what was on the other side. And even though I didn't know when I left to move abroad that this is what it was going to look like or what I was in turn to, I'm really, really thankful for myself to just give myself the opportunity to say, well, let's just find out. Let's just see. Let's see, like, what do we, like, what do you have to lose type thing.